Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Success Series. I am your host, David Berg. I'm here with our co-host, Michael Konowski, very special guest and good friend, Marc Brenner. Marc is the real estate king of the New York City and Jersey City, actually all of New Jersey area.
All of New Jersey.
The entire tri-state.
Yes.
It's an absolute honor to be here with him today. We're actually at one of his units that he's showing here in Jersey City. As you can see, the beautiful panoramic views behind us. Really excited to get into Marc's story. Marc, if you can kick us off with a little background on what you do today, how your journey started in real estate, and we'll dive right in.
So my journey started in real estate in a very funny way, actually. I used to own a manufacturing company, and we manufactured, back in the day, was called magnets. And magnets would go on a part of your body that was lacking blood flow. And the theory behind it was that you put the magnet on and the iron would attract the blood and you would create a blood flow. So I was looking for something to do. I was actually driving a truck for Snapple.
Really?
Yes. And I had a friend reach out and he said, I tried these magnets and they're working extremely well. So I said, all right, let's just do it. So I would go from pharmacy to pharmacy and selling these like boxes of magnets. But during that time, I would call Rite Aid, Duane Reade, GNC, Vitamin Store, and I was always looking for the big box store to get a product sold. So I would consistently call and call and call, and one day GNC called me back, and they said, we're interested in these products. So long story short, we wound up selling to 50 GNCs. And we were just shipping and they were taking off, but I knew it wouldn't last. So I had a substantial amount of money and I said, let me try real estate. And I bought a foreclosed home. Fixed up the foreclosed home, painted it, just did light fixings on it.
Sure.
And it sold and I made a lot of money. I was like, holy shit.
What year was this?
This was like 22 years ago.
Okay.
Yes, not to date myself.
Yeah.
That is 22 years ago. And I was like, oh my God, what happens if I get my real estate license? Then I could do a ton of these and sell real estate. So I went to school, and the woman said to me, I remember her name was Linda, 22 years ago, she goes, you belong in Hoboken. I was like, this is awesome. I'll go to Hoboken.
Right.
Went to Hoboken, passed my test, had a baggy suit on, had no idea what was going on. Somebody said, would you like to see what a one-bedroom home looks like? I said, absolutely. Showed me a one-bedroom home, and an hour later, a woman from the Midwest walked in. And she said, I'm interested in a one-bedroom home. I said, I'll show you the best one I know. And it was the only one I knew. And we drove there. She goes, I'll take it.
Wow.
And this was like 2 hours into real estate and I already sold my first condo. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And we came back, we wrote the contract, and 22 years later, still here, still in the game, and, making things happen.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that journey in starting in real estate.
Yes.
Going from selling these magnets, what was it, just an epiphany one day that you said to yourself, I need to be in real estate? Where did that come from?
I think being an entrepreneur drew me to the magnets, and the reaching out and the cold calls and just having the desire to get and land something big. Like it always burned inside me. And just calling and calling. When I say, I'm going over it like lackadaisical, but the reality was hundreds and hundreds of calls. And just that whole process made me feel like if I was in the real estate game, I'd be able to connect with like developers and homeowners because I'd call more than most people would, and I would do more than most people would.
Right. And I was also driving trucks across the country at my previous career. Yes. When I was in garbage trucks. Yeah. Why did you do that? Because being a truck driver is not as bad as
it's not think. Easy,
right? It's not easy, but it's also not as bad as, right? They paid pretty decent.
I did pretty good actually, because I was I was a lot younger, and Snapple was taken off.
Okay,
and they were paying me per case.
Yeah,
and my route was all along the Jersey Shore.
Okay,
so it was cases upon cases upon cases. But one day I was driving and it was wet out, and the truck started. It was a big box truck, and the cases of Snapple are super heavy. Right. And I hit the brakes, and it kept sliding. And I was like, "Oh my God!" And it was like moving fast.
You said, "Is this like you thought? Is this the end?"
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, "There's no way it could end like this." I was like, "Please!" And then I pulled the emergency brake, and I missed the car by like that much. And I said, "I need to do something different."
Right. Beautiful.
And then at that point, I was like, it was all laid out for me, because like a day later, my friend John called and said, "I have this opportunity."
Beautiful.
So it was all like everything ran its course exactly the way it was supposed to.
Right. We look at people's career, and a lot of it starts when they're super young, the way that they were raised.
Yes.
What was your childhood like? How was your family life? And what did your parents do growing up?
My family life was okay. My parents got divorced when I went into high school. I remember my middle school years being really good, but I was always like an entrepreneur. I'd buy like bags and bags of blow pops, and I'd put them in the like a backpack, and I would like, select them during like 7th grade, 8th grade.
Right.
And,
like $5 a pop.
Yeah. Like I was just collecting money selling blow pops. Like I always had a blow pop in my mouth, and I was always like distributing. But that was free inventory. I know they say don't get high in your supply, but I was definitely into the blow pop scene. And that's how my entrepreneur like started. Like I always knew that if I sat on the sideline or just stayed average, my soul would always crave more. So I was thinking of a next level on how to make money or just collect energy.
And what's the real estate field like today relative to when you started 22 years ago?
Feels like every single time I do a deal, whether it's 40 million or 600,000, I get a jolt of energy and I feel so alive. I think what drove my career and being successful now, I never worked to do the deal. I always worked to find somebody a home where they could create memories and like just, open the door and see their wife and see their family, or open the door and feel really proud of what they bought. It was never about landing a deal to get a paycheck. It was always about, making sure someone was making a connection with their home.
Right.
Very important.
You're pairing somebody with their dream place of living, and that would work out.
Before I even knew it was spiritual, because I wasn't like, I had no I had spirituality in me, but I had no lessons of spirituality in me whatsoever.
Where do you think that came from, that innate sort of desires to connect to spirituality?
It was always inside me. Like I just felt there was more. My soul craved more. I didn't know how to define it, but I always felt like someone was looking out for me from above, but I didn't understand how to make that connection or how to learn about it.
Right. And being in real estate today, I have a lot of friends, and everybody that's probably 30 and under wants to be in real estate in one way or another, right? What is your advice to them if they're just starting out now, if they have a desire to be a broker, an agent?
Sure. I think the advice is the first deal becomes your hardest deal. It's like cracking the seal. Well, once you crack the seal, if you're good and you have that certainty in the creator, and you know that you're going to succeed, and maybe it's not today, maybe it's not tomorrow, things aren't always on our timeline. But if you have the certainty and you could just really work and just work to help, not work to make money, your career will start. But once you're chasing every dollar, it will go away, and you'll be trying to catch it, and it's elusive, like it's everywhere.
Right.
But work to help, and you attract it.
How do you take that advice early on when you're in a place where you're not making any money? How do you put that sort of need to close this deal this week, this month, when there's no money coming in? How do you put
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, you have to have certainty beyond logic. You honestly have to have certainty beyond logic, and just know I live like 10 million's coming at the end on Friday. It haven't, well, I don't want to say that. I live like 10 million is coming to me at the end of the week.
Right.
So I have certainty that whatever I'm doing, I'm landing that deal and I'm going to make it happen. And if I regress from that or regress from that, I won't get the deal done. And then maybe I won't have a real estate career. But the certainty beyond logic and knowing that, you can make it happen has driven me.
Right. Looking at your career and from when you started till now, how many years of work before there was sort of the initial bit of success? And then when that success started, was it just trickling down from there, or was it still ups and downs?
It probably took a solid 5 to 7 years of just grinding and going and 15 hours a day. I was the first person in the office in the morning, last person to leave at night. And I just studied more and knew more about the market than anybody. So you couldn't tell me about a property and I would be like, oh, I didn't know. I knew about every property. I knew what price per square foot, which direction it faced, east, north, south. I knew everything about every property. When somebody would have a conversation with me, they'd say, that guy understands the market. And what helped me was I moved into the area where I started working. So I was, yes, Hoboken, Jersey City. I didn't live in the area. And once I moved here and I became part of the community, then everything started happening because everything became free flowing. And I was like, that's a great restaurant. Not, oh, I heard that's a great restaurant.
Right. You actually ate there.
Yeah. And now knowing the neighborhood and understanding it definitely helped my career as well.
Right. And so for those that don't know you today, so you're with Nest Seekers full time. What does that look like working for them as opposed to being sort of an independent broker that's showing your own listings or trying to compete with one of these large?
Yeah, I think Nest Seekers gave me the tools and the outlets to really upgrade what I was doing. Before it was kind of like mom and pop stuff and I didn't have the connections or the Rolodex, so to speak, of this is who you call for this and that's who you call for that. I was just kind of aimlessly working off of energy.
Right.
And Nest Seekers kind of put me on the right path and gave me direction.
Got it.
The symbiosis of all the offices working together, and now I'm connected in Miami, now I'm connected in Brooklyn, now I'm connected in LA, allowed me to sell some next level homes.
Right. What's been, I know I asked you this before, but what's been your best year? How much was that? Off camera, even though it's recorded.
I don't want to say dollar amount.
Okay. Give our listeners something they can write home about that doesn't maybe have to be,
when I started doing real estate, I lived deal to deal. Now I no longer live deal to deal. That's the difference.
Right.
I am hungry for deal to deal, and I work as if I have nothing. I wake up every morning I have absolutely nothing, and I'm starting from scratch. And that's where the ambition comes from. Also with the mindset that 10 million's coming.
Right.
So I live the biggest paycheck is about to come, so I have no worries, but my desire is I work that I have nothing.
Beautiful. And then, so what are some of the larger deals that you've done in the tri-state area over the last couple of years?
So we recently sold a $40 million townhome. And we sold it to a billionaire that doesn't live in the area.
Really?
They flew in, walked around the block for a half an hour, and they said, this is something that could work. After negotiating and everything, the deal went through. Finding that buyer was 20 years of nurturing a relationship that I've had that gave me no idea that a deal like this would happen. And one day they, said, my good friend is coming and he's looking for a property.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we made the connection. Like I said, then I met him, walked around the property and bought it, and that was it.
And it was just one visual of the place.
One visual, half an hour.
Yeah.
And then said, did a good job, and then got back on his jet and took off.
So that's incredible. So that was my next question for you. Obviously, everybody wants to sell a $40, $50 million home.
Yes.
To actually do that is something else. What do you attest being able to have that experience where Tenant walks in, looks at it once, and says, I want the deal. You said 20 years of relationships.
Yeah, so it was 20 years of relationship that I never thought would even manifest.
It wasn't with him. It was with a friend.
It was a friend of his. Yeah. But if I didn't nurture that relationship, I would have never met that friend.
Right.
So you have absolutely no idea where the deal or anything's coming from. That's why being kind to everybody, treating everybody first class, whether it's the doorman, whether it's a CO, treat everybody with the utmost respect and be genuine about it. Don't do it because you feel like you're going to get something.
Right.
Be genuine about it. Make other people feel warm. Make other people feel good. And when you least expect it, it could happen.
Beautiful. How do you balance family life and then also a career where obviously yours is very time spent traveling all over the tri-state?
Yep.
How do you do both?
So I'm able to do both because of my connection with spirituality and my certainty in the Creator, and knowing that the Creator guides me and always takes care of me actually alleviates any stress or worries that keep me late at work. I know I put my X amount of hours in and I can go home knowing that I gave it all I could. I believe in the Creator. I understand that the more I give to him, the more I will receive. And that type of spirituality has just allowed me to have more time with friends, family, and be in the moment more, not be distracted, not like do this interview.
But
my head's like, my head's saying, oh my God, I had to close
There's a $50 million townhome
right.
here.
Yeah, like these 10 emails have to go out.
Right.
That's all gone. I already handed that over. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the light. This is the energy. Hopefully, this attracts somebody.
It probably will. Or even this unit will sell.
Yeah,
probably. That's what my mind went.
Or I'll sell this unit to you by the end of the game.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But my connection with the Creator has definitely allowed a lot of time because I'm in the moment.
Right. Beautiful. And so do you think that you can have a career and let's say you're in your 20s?
Yep.
Right. And with a wife, with kids, or even in a relationship.
Did someone say I'm not in my 20s?
No. We still think you're in your 20s.
I'm only kidding.
Yeah. Everybody but me is.
Yeah.
Can you be in your 20s, starting in your career, and still have a balance for a girlfriend, a relationship, a boyfriend, whatever it is, at that stage? Or do you think you need to sort of, I'm going to do this now, in 10 years I'll do this? What's your thought process?
My thought process depends how connected you are, right? Because I feel like all that's easily obtainable. But if you get it in your head, I have to work, and now you're lacking your personal relationships, your business may not take off, right? Like, there's somebody like, you're driving and there's this one guy in the fast lane. He's like zipping in and out
right.
and out. And you're in the other lane and you're going straight and you always wind up ahead of him. Right. So sometimes being successful isn't a matter of how hard you work. It may be treating your wife like a queen. And by treating your wife like a queen, the energy opens up and the blessings and miracles and wonders start to flow in business.
Did you see a direct correlation from when you got married and then when you had your first child to your success?
100%.
100%.
100%.
Instantaneously. Married this level.
The gates became open.
Why do you think that is?
I stopped caring more about what I could do and what I could achieve, and I started working more for others. And I started working for my family, and I started working for my colleagues and people that work for me. I just realized it gave me a real genuine sense of, the harder I work, the more I can give. And with the concept receive to give just really started flowing through me. And I really became a channel, and bigger donations to the center happened. Bigger things started happening. And I contributed all to getting married and starting a family.
Incredible. Because the reason why I asked that is I saw a study somewhere, I didn't know if this was fact, that men after they get married make X more money, and then after their first child, there's a science that we know, Kabbalah, spirituality behind it. Beautiful. Tithing, you mentioned donations. It's a big thing that a lot of our listeners struggle with. I think the world in general, right?
Sure.
The fact that I'm giving away 10% of my money to something else.
Yes.
What has allowed you to feel comfortable with that? And then what would be your advice to others as far as why they should?
The tithing for me is just having that certainty beyond logic that you're giving to something greater to keep this force moving. We all want to live in Yesod, right? When it hits our money, we want to live that right at that, like Joseph, that energy that any obstacle we could overcome. And I struggle sometimes, right? Like if real estate's like the stock market, like it goes up and down. You think you have all this, and then it slows down. And sometimes in my mind, I'm like, if I didn't do that tithing that day,
I would have this.
I would have had this, and that. But if I didn't do the tithing that day, I might not have the bigger picture.
Right.
You're playing small ball if you're doubting tithing. When you want to feel like a baller, you want to feel like you're achieved, you give back to the Creator, and miracles and wonders can start to happen on a daily occurrence.
If I'm afraid to even give $1 away of mine, what would be? How do I cross that mental hurdle of giving away something that I feel is mine?
I feel like you're doubting the Creator if you have that mindset, because then you're saying that, this is the principles we live under, but I don't think it's the way it's supposed to go. And then you're disconnected.
Beautiful. So you're doubting the whole system.
Doubting the system.
Right.
Right. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I'm not acting like, I just write a check and
everything's good.
It's definitely hard, but I meditate on what I do. I talk to my teacher. I meditate with my teacher. It's a much bigger picture. I'm giving to so much more.
Right.
And you see it come back. I mean, I've been at my bank account where it was really low, and I was still tithing.
Wow.
And at that point, it's just pure belief, and you're just giving yourself over. And it wasn't expected, but happened. That's when the miracles started happening.
Beautiful. What's the most challenging thing that's happened in your life that you were able to bounce back from?
We bought a house that was way beyond my means, way beyond. And then COVID hit, and all the construction stopped.
Wow.
It was hard to get a construction loan, and I was at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And I was driving home with somebody from the center. And he goes, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "What are you really going to do?" He goes, "You have to really start working harder and start doing more." And I said, "I'm going to actually get deeper into Kabbalah. Deeper dive, deeper spirituality, deeper belief." And I was just engulfed myself with all the recordings. And I just let go. And I was at a bad place. And then all of a sudden, a deal that I had from 5 years ago, property that I owned that I thought was done, made a lot of money. And the check came right when I needed it. People were banging at the door to get paid. And I was like, oh my God. And I was listening to Eitan and a lecture on Adika Kadisha, and how the certainty beyond logic and the belief, well, you could pull down that energy and just like feel it and live it. And I listened to it, and I had a check. And then after I listened to the recording, I deposited. And the next day it said it bounced. The company didn't cover the check. And I said, you know what? I believe in that recording. I know it's going to work. Redeposit the check.
Yeah.
Check went through. And then bigger deals started happening. Developers started calling. But it wasn't until I was at my bottom, and had nothing left. And I would look up. I said, what am I going to do? Just guide me. And it was almost like the moment, like, the Red Sea, and scanning the 42 names, and just please, and just bring it down. And things just started happening.
Was that at that bottom? Was it you felt complete? You're like, there's no way I'm getting out of this. Is as bad as it can possibly. It was that. It was.
I felt, yes, it was bad. It was really bad. But saying I was going to get deeper in spirituality than spend more hours at work changed it for me. And the certainty beyond logic, and just knowing it was going to happen. There were moments I was like,
breathe.
Was this really going to happen? And I just believed, and it did. It was incredible.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. For our listeners that are younger, I always ask this to our guests, if you could go back to your 14, 15-year-old self and tell Marc one thing, what would you tell him?
Invest in real estate super, super early. Buy as much as you can. Make it work. Get doors.
Doesn't matter where.
Doesn't matter. Well, I mean, Jersey City, when I came here, nobody wanted it. And now we're sitting in a high rise that was a vacant lot that looked like it was going to sit here forever.
So Jersey City was nothing years ago.
So Jersey City was absolutely nothing. So I would say, but we're right across from New York. I don't know if we're capturing this, but like the river, the New York City views, like it's all here. So at some point, being this close to New York, it had to like start gaining some wind and picking up traction, and now it's called like the sixth borough. And people get bigger apartments, they get more and pay a little less, but yet they're in the city.
It's a perfect place to be, right? You're close enough, you're out of the craziness, you get to have, I love this. I mean, this apartment's fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What's the best thing about money that people don't know? And then what's the worst thing about it? Making a ton of money.
Well, if I was one to make a ton of money, I would say the best thing is I would guess, I want to say the freedom, but I don't think the freedom comes without having the spirituality. So, like I said, I work to get the homeowner in the home or get the home sold for the home seller. And that money that comes in is more showing me that I've achieved something. Like it's an achievement. And, it's nice to buy things and get things. But if you're not grounded and if you're not in that spiritual mindset, it could be a disaster as well.
If you were the last person living on this earth, how would you spend your time?
By myself, the only one?
Yes.
Okay. By myself, the only one. I'd probably be a big adventurer and travel all over and see what I could find or what I could do and how to start this whole thing back up.
I thought you'd say you'd start real estate for whoever else comes.
I would build the first house.
You'd build the first.
Yeah, I'd build the first house.
Brick by brick, right?
Brick by brick. Totally.
Marc, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. Where can our viewers find you?
They could look on my Instagram page. They could find me on nestseekers.com and all my listings and track records on there.
What's your Instagram handle? We'll put it at the bottom.
Marc, Marc_Brenner, BRENNER_.
Awesome. Marc Brenner, everybody. All Marc, thank you for being on.